Welcome to the Verdin Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verde. I got my guy G Sports with me. G, what's good? How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
That's it. We were at spring practice today. Got boots on the ground access, some information, some footage too. We got some film we're gonna break down for the fans. Let me go ahead and pop this up on the screen here. So, started off as usual. You got the offense going against the air. We're getting to see Garrett Nussmeier. We're getting to see their piecemeal offensive line that keeps changing. G. I mean, I know we talked about it a lot. These rotations that we're gonna see at practice, don't get used to them because they could change. It could be a little rough draft situation, and the final draft is months away. But I ain't gonna lie, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. I like that you can put multi-sets out there in terms of your wideouts. Like that you can spread the field. I like number 0 right there, Xavier Thomas. They have done some really creative things with him, G. I saw today some split back looks in terms of the formations. You got two running backs, one on each side of Garrett Nussmeier. One of them was Xavier Thomas. And I think that's going to be kind of the area he sees a lot of his roles this season, right? I mean, last year people were expecting maybe Aaron Anderson to fit into that role. But now with Aaron emerging and being one of the bigger wide receiver targets, I'd imagine Xavier Thomas takes that role. And, with his route tree and what he will probably provide for LSU's offense, I really think that's a perfect spot. And another person I might even throw in there, if I'm Joe Sloan, if I'm feeling froggy, Juwan Johnson. Why not? I mean, why not use the talent that you got? You see right here, this little toss. That's kind of been a theme here, G, in practice, at least spring in the beginning. There's been some overthrows. There's been some miscues. What's your reaction to something like this? Are you going to panic, hit the alarm buttons? What's your reaction when you see a throw like this? Or there's going to be a couple other ones with Michael Van Buren. I mean, that might have been more on Xavier Thomas, but they did have some moments here today and a couple other days. What's your takeaways if a quarterback is struggling in spring? But it's early. Might have lost G here, but we got Barry Brown on the sideline. Barry's been balling. I ain't gonna lie. Barry's been pretty much one of the most unsung heroes of this transfer portal class, if I had to say so myself. Because with what I've seen through his emergence, through his addition, I was thinking he'd probably be a specialist. I was thinking he'd probably be something that they plug and play on that special team side of things, and he wasn't going to get a lot of love on that side of the ball, on the offensive side of things, especially with this crowded wide receiver room, because they got so many names, so many miles, so many pieces to feed. And quite frankly, I'm getting nervous on if you're going to be able to keep all of them this entire season. There's a legitimate stress that the transfer portal will take some of these pieces. They've got too many of them. They've got a lot of names all across the board that, unfortunately, might not be an LSU Tiger when it's all said and done. G, what's good? You hear me?
Yeah.
All right, talk to me about this quarterback situation. Would you hit the panic button if you're seeing some growing pains early, or is this just all a part of the process of finding a new university and getting in your stride in spring?
Yeah, you got to understand that Garrett Nussmeier doesn't have chemistry with those receivers besides Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton and Xavier Thomas. So Barryon Brown and Nick Anderson, he still got to build a relationship with those guys. You know what I'm saying? And even the tight end that came from Oklahoma. So it's probably going to be a work in progress, but Garrett going to get it done. And second year in that offense starting, I would imagine that he's going to have a really, really good year. And this spring is always good to, fine tune some things and build that chemistry like I was talking about.
And with Michael Van Buren's arrival, what are you seeing from him? What do you kind of want to see from him at least? What are you expecting from him? And do you think if he's showing a little bit of moments where maybe the accuracy isn't there, do you think that that's something that the coaching staff or LSU should hit the panic button on at this point? Like a moment where, he might be not exactly what they thought he was initially.
Absolutely not. You got to understand, man. He played at Mississippi State last year under John Levy's offense. Now he's coming to a new offense. He probably doesn't even understand, all the little nuances of what Joe Sloan wants. And again, he's trying to build a chemistry with those receivers and the O line and just being confident in what he does. And so uh, the overthrows you probably seeing is probably, he's probably like a one step off or, just trying to build that chemistry. So I don't think there's nothing to panic about. Don't forget, man, this guy's still young. He's still a freshman until next year. So I think Michael Van Buren will be fine.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things. You kind of just got to let them get the cobwebs off. If there's a little bit
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
hiccup, you learn through failure, right? I mean, I always was saying I would rather see it in spring than fall or when the lights are on Saturday nights. I mean, it's obviously the time to do it. It's practice. This is when you knock it all off. If you got any questions, any comments, drop them in the chat below. Me and G will get to them throughout the stream. Hit that like button for us. Subscribe both of our channels. Keep putting out that LSU content for you. G, I do want to talk to you about this running back room, right? We got a new addition in terms of faces. You got Harlem Berry. We got someone in the chat right now asking, is 22 John Emery? No, that is Harlem Berry. Their number one guy is Caden Durham. He is 29. Caleb Jackson, number two guy, he is 28. This should be Caden right here, Caden Durham. The next running back will be Caleb Jackson on the screen. But anyway, G, I want to talk to you about this overall room, the overall depth. Obviously, John Emery Jr. says, I'm coming back to college football, and it's not going to be at LSU, though, because Brian Kelly just announced the running back room is full. They're deep. They'll help support John in his new destination, but it's not going to be Baton Rouge. You think that they got something brewing here with Frank Wilson and all these guys, and they're just sitting back waiting for the masterpiece to unfold? Because last year, the running game wasn't a sore spot, but it wasn't their best spot. It was a spot that was underwhelming in terms of expectations. You think they're going to be able to hit that mark here this season?
I think Caleb Jackson is the key to this running back room because he's your power back. He's going to be your guy that you look for to get those short yardage yards when it's third down and short, and when you're on the goal line. So, they need Caleb Jackson to take another step. I felt like he underachieved last year for whatever reason. I know Frank Wilson talked about how he came in camp, overweight, and I think that played a part into why he had his struggles last season. So, you know what you're gonna give him, Caden Durham. Hopefully, he's able to handle success and don't have a sophomore slump. I would imagine that Harlem Berry is going to get a little time here and there. But I think Caleb Jackson is the key to that room, man. If he could show, those flashes he did his freshman year, man, and keep his weight under control, that could be a nice 1-2 punch with him and Caden Durham. And then you add somebody like Harlem Berry into the mix here and there and get him a couple snaps during the game. I think that running back room will be really, really talented. But
Yeah.
also, Joe Sloan does have to be more creative in how he runs the ball this upcoming season.
And when he's more creative, you mean like don't just do it inside. Don't just try to get the quarterback involved. You think that having Jaden Daniels for a couple of years kind of made him like, all right, we can just throw this out here and it's gonna work. It's gonna be explosive. It's just gonna lay itself out. And now you're gonna kind of have to be creative.
Yeah, he's gonna definitely have to be creative on how he runs the ball. I mean, just lining up and trying to run inside zone, that's not gonna work. They got to do some different things, man. I'm sure that's something Coach Kelly has talked to Joe Sloan about this all season. So I would imagine, this upcoming season, we're gonna see some different packages and some different alignments on how they run the ball. I think that should help that running game out tremendously.
Yep. And there are a lot of pieces, but everybody has their own little spin that they put on things. Caden Durham's kind of like I'm not going to say the everything back, but it's what it feels like. He's the elusive guy. He can catch something out of the backfield. He can even throw a damn block out there. And then Caleb Jackson is one of the ones where you got to bow down on your mouthpiece and try not to lose your helmet when you're wrapping him up. I think, even Harlem Berry shows me some flashes of like an Alvin Kamara. I feel like they got a lot of weapons here, especially on that wide receiver side. Let's talk O-line real quick, though, G. I know I talked about rotations. This is the rotation that I saw the most through their scrimmage period. Tyree Adams, Paul Mabinga, DJ Chester, Cohen Eccles, Weston Davis. They also threw out this one a lot. Tyree Adams, DJ Chester, Braylon Moore, Cohen Eccles, Weston Davis. I'm reading from left tackle to right tackle. And then Josh Thompson was at practice today, the Northwestern transfer. I'll break it down real quick for you. So Northwestern has a quarter segmented semester in terms of their academic period. So he had to wait for his quarter. He's back. He's done with Northwestern. He's here at LSU, and he was here at right tackle. Gee, this is what I'm hearing, though. Brian Kelly's talking about how it's a not so fast type reaction, right? You got somebody coming in, a new face, and everybody's automatically expecting him to just get plugged and played into the mix. And there's some people that are kind of like, hey, my name might deserve to be called here too, Brad. What do you think about this? What do you think about even the center battle? Braylon Moore, DJ Chester, they're kind of getting swapped out. I don't know if that's a cross-training situation where you're just trying to make sure you always got a guy ready if one goes down. What's your take on this Josh Thompson arrival, the center battle, and this O-line rotation?
If I had to guess, man, I would think that it's going to play out with Braylon Moore probably playing center. DJ Chester will move over to guard. You got Tyree Adams at left tackle, Weston Davis at the right tackle. I think that right guard is up for grabs with, Josh Thompson or Mabinga. I think that's probably the ideal rotation for next season. I'm excited to see Tyree Adams, uh, kid from St. Aug. He's been in the program 2 years, super athletic. I think he's the key to the offensive line because that's going to be Nuss's blind side. And as you've been seeing, he's being a lot of reps throughout spring. So I'm excited to see, Tyree take that next step, man, and put himself in position, man, to be one of the better O linemen on that team next year.
And G, this O line it is getting tested through this scrimmage period, through what we saw today. That D line has been putting that pressure on the O line. Now it's making me think two things. One, you're kind of like, all right, well, the O line's got to come together, get more continuity. They don't even have their finalized matchup, so I'm not going to stress. But it's also kind of making you think. Kyle Williams, Kevin Peoples, and this D line and the edges that LSU's putting together, hey, they might have something brewing. They might have some fire down there on that defense. And I remember a couple months ago, I'm sitting here hoping, praying, just trying to speak into existence that LSU's defense will be the most surprising side of the ball this season. Gee, the more I watch this practice and the more I show up, the more I feel confident in that take. It gets less and less absurd as the days go by. I ain't gonna lie.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yep.
With the people they brought in on that D line, that's going to only make that offensive line better, and vice versa. And so I think that's going to be really really good competition throughout the rest of the spring and when fall camp comes. And now when you come into the season, you didn't win against some of the best players on your own team, so it's not going to be that difficult of a task when they go against Clemson in week one, man. So, I like it, man. I think that front seven is better, way better than what they had last year. Adding Turner from Florida State and Milburn from Florida, Butler from Nebraska. Then you got Dominic McKinley and Amar Brew ascending as sophomores next year. So that D line gonna be really, really good and better than what we saw last year. So I'm excited to see that competition.
Very excited. Then we got Jacoby Guillory too. That's another one of those pieces. I've loved Jack Pyburn's addition. I've loved watching him jump into the scheme, watching the physicality, just the overall aggression he's bringing. There he is, right there on the right side. Patrick Payton, another one of those pieces that I've really enjoyed to watch. But hey, I'm not gonna lie, G. Number 19, Gabriel Relaford. Learn the name. Everybody got to put some respect on Gabe right now before this season starts, because he's gonna be a name that I think is gonna grow. His stock is going to jump. They got some DBs too that I think you need to buy stock in. Gee, we've been praising Michael Turner, 21. He had another good day today. They let the wide receivers and DBs kind of go one-on-one in front of us a little bit, and we got to see him and Chris Hilton battle it out. And I don't know if Chris Hilton came down with it. It was one of those little you're gonna have to review it type deals, but he played really good coverage on it. Really about 40-yard pass to the left side of the end zone. He was able to kind of get a hand, make it difficult for Chris to come down with the catch. I don't think it was a catch. A lot of people got excited though. But hey, like I said, you're gonna have to review that one. I think Michael Turner though going to be a big name to be able to watch going forward. There's a lot of them though. DJ Pickett, Jakeem Jackson, Joel Rogers, Austin Osbury's the backup star. There's a lot of names here on this defense. Who's standing out to you the most through what you've seen?
I'm gonna keep going with Micah Turner, man, the unsung hero of the spring so far. Uh, people don't understand that guy's story. He came into LSU as a receiver, and they switched him once he got there. That was a big deal, Micah Turner, man. He kind of was questioning, if coming to LSU was the right idea. But I think Corey Raymond, with his track record and what he's done with DBs in the past, it made Micah Turner trust his vision for him. And last year, as a true freshman, man, it was, he went through some growing pains. But I think everybody's seen the treats and the flashes that he could be a really good corner, man. So I can't wait to see how it's gonna play out with him, Jakeem Jackson, Mansour Delane, Ashton Stamps, uh, DJ Pickett. They got a long list of DBs back there, with a lot of length to play around with. So it's gonna be interesting, man. And then you talk about somebody like Joel Rogers, man, who didn't see the field at all last year. They gonna need him to take another step this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because the safety position has been uh not up to the expectations over the last couple of years. I know Deshaun Spears is somebody they depending on next year too, and I know he been dealing with a little injury throughout spring, but I think Joel Rogers the key, because now if Joel Rogers takes that next step, now you don't have to move Mansour Delane to the safety spot. You can still leave him at corner, and now you got a lot of depth at that DB position. And if you know anything about the SEC, man, you need to have a lot of depth and a lot of different guys you can plug and play and rotate in, to be one of the elite teams in the country.
I agree. How realistic do you think that is, Mansour Delane switching, moving over to a safety room? Do you think it's going to have to come with them getting more confidence in that corner room, or do you think it'll have to be one of those situations where it's like, all right, we got to make something shake now at safety? Like what's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, is it gonna come down to, do they trust Joel Rogers and do they trust Deshaun Spears? If they trust him going into week one, You'll see Mansour Delane playing a lot of corner. They don't. You'll see them move Mansour Delane to safety and kind of plug and play there. So um, it's gonna be clear. It's gonna be interesting to see how this gonna all unfold for Ashton Stamps, though. Who's
Yeah,
been who started the last couple of years as a true freshman in a sophomore. You know how they plan on utilizing him next year is gonna be very interesting.
I agree. Got a couple of notes here for wide receiver and DBs. I wanted to touch on this real quick before we move out of the DB talk. The rotations for the wide receivers in this little part of practice, very interesting as well. I'll read you some of the trios. Same thing as the offensive line. I wouldn't really get too used to it, but Destin Hill, Xavier Thomas, Barry Brown, Nick Anderson, Chris Hilton, Xavier Thomas. And then for your threes group, we saw Terrell Francis, Kylan Billiot, and then they mixed in Aaron Anderson in there as well. Very interesting. So like I said, a lot of weird looks today, but Xavier Thomas, one of my biggest receivers that stood out, caught a really nice pass over Mansour Delane. I will shout out Chris Hilton as well. Like I said, had that little toss up with Michael Turner. I don't think he came down with it, but it was a nice competitive play. You said iron sharpens iron. That's how you do it. That reminds me of one of those Derek Stingley, Jamar Chase one-on-ones.
There you go.
They in a situation now where they both paid and they both happy and they both smiling. So I think that iron, it got sharp. Michael Turner, like I said, very great coverage. I think he's going to be a player on the field this year. I don't think he's going to be a name that's going to be sitting back waiting for his turn. I think he's showing enough, and I think he'll continue to add days and gain trust within that coaching staff. That's the biggest thing at that position for me, trust. Can I expect something from you and you fulfill that expectation on the field and not let me down? Destin Hill. I'm going to ring another bell for you, Nostradamus. I'm going to give you some more flowers because Destin Hill is that guy. Destin Hill is, coming back from that ACL injury, but he got one on Jakeem Jackson today. And I got a lot of respect for Jakeem Jackson, but I got a lot of respect for Destin Hill, too, for what he's battling back from, for what he's able to do. Brian Kelly.
With the knee brace on.
Exactly. With the knee brace on, with limited mobility, coming back, trying to trust himself. And Coach Kelly was talking about how much of an impact he was really expected to have at Florida State before that injury that prevented him from playing. This is one of those pieces I think that you could really sit back and just be proud of that you were able to sign out of this portal class. G, what did you see from Destin Hill that made you predict that?
Hard worker, dog. Hard worker. Like when you talk about somebody that puts in the extra work outside of practice, who is self-motivated, and he's been like that since he was a freshman out of Edna Carr High School, and he's just handling stuff like a professional. He kind of is almost like he's been there before. So Destin Hill gonna be one of those guys that's gonna reach his full potential and be the best version of himself, man. He's gonna be in the playbook. He's gonna get extra reps. He's gonna ask questions. He's gonna be watching film. He's gonna do everything it takes to be one of the most elite receivers, not only at LSU but in the country. That's just his mindset, and he's always been like that. And once he gets more mobility with his knee, I think the sky's the limit for that kid, man. Destin Hill is somebody, I'm telling you, he's going to be one of the next best receivers at LSU, barring he doesn't have a setback with his injury.
Yeah, I believe it. Now, I'm buying the stock with you alongside of it. DJ Pickett, I'll give another note. He also had a solid swat over Barry Brown. Joel Rogers came in, like we said, showed some flashes. Had a PBU over Xavier Thomas or on a little sideline out route. Deshaun Spears was in with the ones. Joel had to step in at times, like you were saying, dealing with a soft tissue injury, according to Brian Kelly. I want to say one more note for our guy, Kylan Billiot. He had a nice little route running over P.J. Woodland, a little bit overthrown over the top. Couldn't come down with it, but I wanted to give some credit to that route running ability because, hey, P.J. Woodland, that's something that you got to be proud of if you're taking some reps over him. That's another one of those cats that has been really impressive in that cornerback room. Let's
definitely got to give a shout out to Colin Billiard. I know 2 practices ago he ended practice with a bomb over one of the DBs, and they ended practice that way. And the whole team went to the end zone and celebrated with him. The coaches, they've been really raving about his progress this spring and how he's looking more confident in himself. So Colin, somebody, man, could be a dark horse that should be, one of the better receivers on that team this year.
I think so too, G, because there's an underrated element into this whole timeline. It's the height of all these wide receivers, right? And I don't want to just keep beating the dead horse. You got 2 options that are going to be your vertical threats in terms of your wide receiver room 6'3" and above. You want to know the 2 options, G? Nick Anderson and Kylan Billiot. You have a lot of pieces that are shorter and faster, and I mean, you're not really limited in terms of names that you could put out there. Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Kyle Parker. There's a lot of those type of cats there. You got Chris Hilton, you got Destin Hill, you got Barry Brown, but you don't have somebody that's going to be able to match up and be taller than almost every single corner that they're going to put in there. And I think that's the caveat that Colin Billiard brings to this situation.
No doubt.
There's a couple of things, obviously, that's going to have to come into play. But I do think, though, if he's ready to answer the bell, it's going to come. The time's definitely going to come. And, I mean, we can even dial it back to someone like Aaron Anderson. I'll bring this back in. When Chris Hilton wasn't ready to answer the bell, when he was hurt and he had to recover, Aaron Anderson slides in and he provided. I'm not going to lie. He provided. And I do think if you're ready, even Caden Durham, how about that? When Caden Durham slides in for John Emery into that role, now he's the lead back. There's always an opportunity. You just got to be ready when your name is called. I think 82 could be ready. I'm excited.
Stay ready. You ain't got to get ready.
Exactly. Let's talk about this recruiting situation. Let's keep it wide receiver related. Tristan Keys, nice addition. I was telling them on Friday, I'm trying to pump the brakes. I'm excited. I love it. But I don't want to get overzealous, and I don't want to lose hindsight of the fact that it ain't over until it's over, G. Tell me what you're thinking about it, all the other additions that LSU has, and what this could mean for the team.
I think we're on the same page. I'm not getting all excited about Tristan Keys committing. All right. These kids commit, and they'll be at another school tomorrow, which he's at Ole Miss today.
Literally, bro.
So how you gonna commit to LSU a couple of days ago? Now you're in Oxford. Come on, bro. Like what we talking about right now? So until that paper come through that fax machine on signing day, nobody from LSU fan base should be excited. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? The number one receiver in the country. Everybody and their mama gonna be throwing that blank check at him. So, I know the NIL has improved over the last 6 months since Coach Kelly has made a big deal about it. But you best believe this gonna come down to the end in December if they won't make this happen. I'm telling you, it's number one receiver in the country now. Come on now.
That's the recruiting world now, G. Like there's a two-part system. So the first part that I'm gonna just try to be optimistic about is he's gonna bring attention to this class, similar to what DeCorian Moore did in terms of, hey, Bryce Underwood, what's good? You're throwing to me, dog. Let's commit. Everybody lock in. Number one recruiting class. It's a similar step, but like you said, you got to get it all locked in the end. It don't matter when it's March, when we proud because we're high atop the rankings. The signs, the John Hancocks, all this stuff don't touch the paper until December. Got a long time.
And then you committed to LSU before you even took your official visit. Come on, man. No. Like, that's a red flag right there for me. You know what I'm saying? So, I take it with a grain of salt, bro. Like, I don't think this is something that people should be thinking is gonna be a for sure thing. I hope he signed with him, but it's a long way away from December.
Look, I'm gonna be optimistic. But I'm going to be real at the same time, G. And I think the reality of this situation is you're still reeling in the fish. Don't celebrate yet. It ain't in the boat. Get the net out. Get ready.
If he was a boot boy, I'd probably be a little more confident. But when you got an out-of-state kid committing that early and he hasn't even taken his official visit, I just don't think it's something that you should be confident about. I know LSU going to do everything they power to keep him committed and make sure he signed on the dotted line, but like I say, man, he's at Ole Miss 2 days after he committed. Come on, man. Ain't no telling what kind of conversations being had in them back rooms right now.
The Grove got a special way of being able to call players.
Lane Kiffin get down at P. Golden, bro. I'm telling you, they coming with it. They got a mouthpiece.
Got to. Hey, they got to compete some way. Look, I respect it. Hit that like button right now. We got a lot of people into this stream. Appreciate it. We go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. If you got any LSU-related questions, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. We're about to wrap this up here, though. We got Lord. We got somebody in the chat, and we got a back and forth going on. All right, let me pop this up, Jesus. Let's get into this. Matt saying, Garrett yet to be a good deep ball passer. Look, all right, Matt, this is an open forum, and we do invite discussion. I would just respectfully disagree because I do think Garrett Nussmeier has a fantastic arm. I think people are getting lost in the sight of the fact that he wasn't doing the flashy 400-yard games and all this stuff. But, I'm going to drop a next-gen stat, a Verdin Verdict next-gen stat. Through 1 year of an LSU career, 1 year, first year starting, who had most passing yards? Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Garrett Nussmeier. If you guess Garrett Nussmeier, you are correct. I don't think you could be criticizing an arm that has not necessarily been quicker. I'm not going to sit here and do all that, but I'm just saying in terms of where they are and their points of their career, he's not slacking I don't think he's missing the mark. What I think, and I'm gonna just use this comparison one last time if nobody's ever heard it, it's the same thing as going by your first suit. Don't sit here and try to tell me that your first suit was all swagged out and fly and you were looking trim. No, it was baggy, it was loose, and you had to go to the tailors and get it all trimmed up, and now it's nice and tight. This is Garrett Nussmeier's second suit that he got. They brought Garrett to the tailor, they trimmed it all up for him, and now I think he's ready to lock in. This is the best quarterback in college football. The Heisman odds in Vegas are speaking like that for a reason. They normally don't lie. I mean, do they get things wrong? Yeah, but this preseason hype train, I think, is there for a reason. And when you keep adding these weapons, you got a 6'7" tight end, you got a returning coordinator, you got all these pieces back in the fold. You were talking about the chemistry with guys like Aaron, with guys like Zay, Chris. Now he's going to mix in with more weapons. Sky's the limit. I ain't gonna lie. I'm on that Nuss bus bad.
No, I believe in Garrett. I think he's gonna have a really, really good year. I think he's gonna be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I think he's gonna have LSU in that playoff. I think it's just really gonna come down to what that O-line gonna look like this year, and how they gonna gel on defense if they could be a team that compete for that national championship. So, and for somebody to say he's not a good deep ball thrower, first of all, they didn't really have nobody to throw the ball deep to last year because Chris Hilton was hurt most of the year. And when Chris Hilton was available, you saw what happened, especially in the bowl game.
Buku of them. Had two of them. He said, let me take two for the road. Let me take two for the road. Look at the reaction. Like, we pop it up in the chat. We got a man saying, what are you talking about? Somebody said he did not just say that. Can't throw a deep ball, drugs, bro. Somebody shouting out the Kyle Parker touchdown. Yeah, he had some nasty throws today. I ain't gonna lie. Nussmeier he's been whipping it up. And I don't know how far this is gonna go, but I think Doug Nussmeier being an hour away in New Orleans is gonna help too. This is the closest his father's ever been to him in a situation. I don't know if they're going to be trained. I don't know how much tutelage he can get, but that connection is going to grow. He'll be in there a lot in person. Colton, his little brother, was there today at practice, repping the Saints. I mean, this is a family situation now. Family matters over here at LSU. If you got anything else to say, G, let me know. What you got?
About to enjoy this beautiful Saturday.
Me too. UFC fights tonight. Leon Edwards. Man, we gonna hope to lock in. I ain't gonna lie. Leon, don't retire on me. Don't do it. Leon Edwards, Jan Blackwoods, don't take that L. Come on. We got 30 people in the chat. Appreciate everybody for tuning into this stream. It was a last second stream, but everybody, look, y'all locked in West. I love it. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back live Monday at 9 a.m. G. Appreciate your time. Enjoy all y'all day. This has been the Verdin Verdict.